Hey guys, welcome back to Embrace the Question. Steve here, your fellow Bible aficionado, and we are at the end of Genesis in our Bible Study with Me series. It's taken us a while to get here. 3 chapters left, including this one. So we are wrapping it up, basically. We're saying goodbye to Jacob this chapter and the next chapter. Jacob being the son or the son of Isaac, right? The father of the sons of Israel, the 12 tribes. And all of that is still taking shape, and we're going to see some things happen in this chapter that explain a lot of things that are up and coming in the next chapter. And I'm really excited about that because I'm going to get to show you something that's more of a show and tell type of thing. If this is your first time on this channel, well, welcome. And just hang in there for a quick 20-minute Bible study, or subscribe and just go back and check out the entire Genesis journey that we've been on. It's been a lot of fun, and we'll see where we go next with it. But let's get into Genesis 48. All right, I'm using eSword. We're in the English Standard Version, right? English Standard Version of the Bible. I want to keep it as consistent as possible. I like this translation a lot. It's not perfect. None of them are. But I do like this one, especially going through the Old Testament. If we want to refer to certain Hebrew words, sometimes we'll swap over to the King James with the Strong's numbers and take a look at the Hebrew words. Okay? But for now, I think just the ESV will do. So let's start, and I will get into my show and tell. Okay? Genesis 48:1. After this, Joseph was told, "Behold, your father is ill." So he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. This is his 2 boys that he's had in Egypt. In verse 2, and it was told to Jacob, "Your son Joseph has come to you." Then Israel summoned his strength and sat up in bed. Okay, let's stop right there because I want to jet over to Hebrews 11. Many of you know this. Hebrews 11, the famous Hall of Faith chapter, Hebrews 11. And we can go all the way down to 21, and it says, "By faith, Jacob, when dying, blessed each of the sons of Joseph, bowing in worship over the head of his staff." Okay, that's an interesting addition to our imagery, at least. He's got a staff like this one, maybe. This is one I've used a while. I don't use it to walk. I use it for this lesson, in fact. But the patriarchs used staves like these. Okay, they were tall enough to lean on. Hebrews 11:21 says he was bowing in worship over the head of his staff. Okay, so I don't know how tall Jacob was, but here's the interesting thing about some of these staves. That the testimony of Jacob's life would have been etched upon this staff, okay? So when a life event would happen, like Jacob marries Rachel on a certain day, he takes his knife out and he begins to etch on the staff, married Rachel on whatever day, had Reuben on this day. And so you can imagine that by the time his life is over, the staff is covered up with the testimony of Jacob. Why is that cool? Why is that important? Well, it's pretty provoking to me because these staffs were handed down. So when Jacob received his staff, it already had the life events of his father Isaac on it. And then before that, the life events of Abraham on the staff. So, by the time you get to the end of the staff of testimony almost, it's covered up with the life stories of your ancestors. These things that are designed to create faith in you. So legend suggests that this is the same staff that Moses wielded when he parted the Red Sea. How cool would that be? Just think about it. Can't prove it. But these are handed down. And it's handed down through the birthright often enough. The oldest son, whoever gets the birthright, gets the staff. Now, we are going to talk a bit more about that as we get to the next chapter or two. I believe especially chapter 50. We're going to talk about the staff not departing from Judah, the scepter not departing from Judah. So Judah takes a lead role in all of this eventually, and we did cover that a little bit. But the staff is important. And Hebrews, the writer of Hebrews mentions it, but the writer of Genesis has not mentioned it. So it just adds some color to our story. Let's go back to Genesis down to 48. And that's what we're talking about. So Joseph is at the end. He's summoning his strength so he can set up in bed. He may even be sitting on the edge of his bed, leaning on his staff. I can just see this in my mind, right? And trust me, the events of this chapter are about to be etched on the staff. Okay, verse 3. And Jacob said to Joseph, God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me and said to me, behold, I will make you fruitful and multiply you. And I will make of you a company of peoples and will give this land to your offspring after you for an everlasting possession. That's an interesting statement that he makes here, that God tells him, I will make you fruitful and I will multiply you. Why is that so cool? Because that was the original command to Adam and Eve. And to Noah and his sons, go out into the earth, be fruitful, and multiply. Only Jacob is saying God has told him, you don't even have to concentrate on it. I am going to multiply you. I am going to make you fruitful. I kind of prefer that arrangement. It appeals to me very much. All right, verse 5. And now your two sons who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you in Egypt are mine. Get that? They're mine. Ephraim and Manasseh shall be mine, as Reuben and Simeon are. Okay, Ephraim and Manasseh, the two older sons now of Joseph. Has he got other sons? Probably not yet. But it's suggested in commentaries that these two guys are in their 20s by now. So these are older boys, right? These are young men, young adults. And he is claiming adoption. Now, we really don't have an idea of adoption in the Hebrew culture at all. It's not really a thing. Adoption. So what he is doing here is unprecedented. We don't see adoption really until we get into the book of Kings and see the story of Elijah and Elisha, when Elisha says, when you go, I want a double portion of your spirit. Remember, Elisha wasn't Elijah's son. Elisha was Elijah's disciple. And so Elijah's about to depart. He says to Elisha, what do you want me to do for you? Elisha says, I want you to give me a double portion of your spirit. He's asking for the impossible. He's asking for sonship. He says, I want you to adopt me. Because the double portion of the Spirit, all that means is I want firstborn status. Now you see the difficulty. And that's exactly what Elijah said. You ask a hard thing. You ask a hard thing. I don't know if we can do this or not. But if you see me when I go, then so be it. You can have your wish. Now, as it turns out, moments later, it appears in Scripture, a whirlwind comes and pulls Elijah into the heavens, and Elisha watches him go. And what does Elisha say? He says, my father, my father. Mission accomplished. He receives the full sonship, the full inheritance, the double portion blessing of the firstborn son. That's what that's all about. And it's a picture of us through Jesus. Okay? You're tapped into something really, really big. And it's starting here. Okay? So now Ephraim and Manasseh, a couple of Egyptian boys. They probably don't even have hair. I mean, they're Egyptians. They don't look like the others. He says, these guys will be mine. They're just the same as Reuben and Simeon are. His other firstborn. Reuben was his firstborn. Simeon was his secondborn. Okay, let's go on to verse 6. We'll come back to this a little bit. We'll cross another bridge. And the children that you fathered after them shall be yours. They shall be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance. So what is he saying here? He's saying, Ephraim and Manasseh, they have basically become my sons. Okay? Any sons that you have from this point forward will fall beneath either Ephraim or Manasseh. But they will not achieve the same status. They are not going to be my sons. They will be your sons. Okay? That's what he's saying. So all children that you father after them will be your sons. They'll be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance. Okay, that makes sense. Verse 7, as for me, when I came from Padan to my sorrow, Rachel died in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was still some distance to go to Ephrath, and I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. And you see that I highlighted that because I was just thinking about it. Rachel dies. Raquel is kind of how it's pronounced, or it's that's the phonetic of it. Raquel, and she dies. It means ewe lamb. A ewe lamb. Think about that. A ewe lamb dies and is buried in Bethlehem. That's almost like a seed. Think of it like a seed. That means that someday from this land in Bethlehem, a ewe lamb will spring forth. And it does, right? And it does. So let's keep going. I'm just giving you my thought process as we go, and it can be pretty convoluted. When Israel saw Joseph's sons, he said, who are these? Now, we know that his eye's failing. It's going to mention that. It's suggested strongly here that he's just kind of ribbing these kids, these 20-year-old young men. He's kind of just playing with them. Whose sons are these? Well, Joseph's going to explain it. Joseph says to his father, they're my sons whom God has given me here. And he said, bring them to me, please, that I may bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim with age, so that he could not see. So Joseph brought them near him, and he kissed them and embraced them. So what we're viewing here is the ancient blessing of the sons. And we don't do this often, at least in this culture, not in these days. It's an interesting thing to study, the blessing. Let's see, we're on verse 11. And Israel said to Joseph, I never expected to see your face. And behold, God has let me see your offspring also. Pretty neat. Then Joseph removed them from his knees. It doesn't really seem like we're talking about adults here, does it? I mean, he removed them from his knees. Sounds like they're sitting on his knee from this translation. And he bowed himself, Joseph is bowing himself with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand, toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand towards Israel's right hand, and brought them near him. Now remember that the right hand is the oldest. That's the real blessing and birthright, is the right hand, the son of my right hand, Benjamin. Okay, the right hand is the important one, and Joseph is maneuvering his boys so that Manasseh receives the blessing from Jacob. Let's see what happens. Verse 14, and Israel stretches out his right hand and laid it on the head of Ephraim, who was the younger, and his left hand on the head of Manasseh, crossing his hands. For Manasseh was the firstborn, so he's doing this. And he blessed Joseph and said, the God before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life long to this day, the angel who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the boys, and in them let my name be carried on, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. A couple of things here. He's referred to God as the angel. That goes back to Genesis 28, when he wrestled with the angel of the Lord, but he knew it was God. He says, surely God is in this place, right? He wrestles with the angel. He sometimes refers to God as the angel. And this word right here, redeemed, this is the first time we have it used in Scripture. And it is an important word because that is the plan of God to redeem. Okay, so it's instituted right here, this idea of redemption. He has redeemed me from all evil. Bless the boys, and in them let my name be carried on. All right, verse 17. And when Joseph saw, see, Joseph's been face down at this point. And when he saw that his father laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. And he took his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. And Joseph said to his father, not this way, my father. Since this one is the firstborn, put your right hand on his head. Verse 19. But his father refused and said, I know, my son, I know. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. Nevertheless, his younger brother shall be greater. Ephraim will be greater. And his offspring shall become a multitude of nations. Now you may be asking, these are Joseph's sons, and they are equals with Jacob's other sons. Doesn't Reuben have this blessing already? And that would be a tremendously astute thing to pursue. And there's an answer. If we go, we're going to leave off right here in verse 19, and we're going to go over here to 1 Chronicles. It's actually 1 Chronicles 5:1. And if we read there, the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, for he was the firstborn, but because he defiled his father's couch, his birthright was given to the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel, so that he could not be enrolled as the oldest son. Again, we see the oldest son not getting the birthright? Who was the other one that didn't get it? Jacob's brother, Esau. Jacob had kind of tricked Esau into selling his birthright and his blessing for a bowl of soup. And it's happening again to his grandson that he's adopted as his son. Interesting. All right, let's go back to Genesis. So his father refused and said, I know. He is going to become a people. Manasseh will become a people. He's going to be great. I'm dividing this blessing. Ephraim is going to be the greater, but Manasseh will be great. So don't worry about that part. All right, verse 20. So he blessed them that day, saying, by you, Israel will pronounce blessings, saying, God make you as Ephraim and Manasseh. Thus he put Ephraim before Manasseh. This is his right as father. He can do this. The only one that can override this is God himself. I won't say that that's never happened, but it certainly didn't happen here, because 1 Kings will attest that Ephraim becomes a huge amount of land and possession within Israel. Tremendous amount. Okay? Verse 21. Then Israel said to Joseph, behold, I'm about to die, but God will be with you and will bring you again to the land of your fathers, so you'll be coming back to Canaan someday. Moreover, I have given to you rather than to your brothers one mountain slope that I took from the hand of the Amorites with my sword and with my bow. Now, what land is that? This is the land of Shechem. This is also kind of a hidden gem within the chapter. You remember the story of Shechem, which was the young man that fell in love with Dinah and defiled her, made the brothers angry. So they go into Shechem and they kill Shechem, and they kill everybody in the village. And Jacob was trying to avoid all of that because, hey, it's one village, but it's just one village in an entire country. And now the entire country hates these newcomers. Even though they've purchased the land they have, everybody hates them in Canaan because they have wiped out Shechem, an entire village, and its namesake, the man, Shechem. In a way, Jacob is a slight picture of the Father here. God the Father saying to his son, in this case Joseph, but in our picture, Jesus, I am giving you a land that my children have made a real mess of. And it's up to you, kind of, to make all of this right again. And so Jesus does this. He inherits the earth, a land that was originally given to God's sons and they made a mess of things. So it's up to Jesus to get it all under control, to again create dominion on the earth, which he does, which is our word for kingdom, dominion. He does all of that. And this is just a shadow, a type in a shadow. So what do you think about that? I think that's really meaty. I love that chapter, Genesis 48. It takes me to pleasant things. It's a lot of types and shadows, a lot of reference to the coming kingdom, and my own adoption into this amazing family, right? I love it. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment below. Comments are great. Comments help this channel, by the way. So leave a comment. If you don't have anything else to say, don't have a question, tell me where you're from. Tell me where you're watching from. That would be really good to know. Also, go to solwaycoffee.com and buy some coffee. It's for a kingdom cause. You'll be helping some folks evangelize an area of the earth that desperately needs to hear some good news. And that's what the money from these purchases go towards in reality. So I invite you, solwaycoffee.com. This is Peruvian organic Galloway dark. I love dark, right? I've established that, but man, that stuff smells so good. Get you some K-Cups if that's all you have is a Keurig. And that's it for tonight. I hope you guys are having a great week. I will see you very, very soon. Peace.